Yogis, welcome back or welcome to my channel. My name is Brittany Timberlake. As always, if you find these videos helpful, please consider subscribing to my channel. Often when the weight of the world feels so heavy on my shoulders, I find refuge in the stillness and the quietness of my yin practice. So I'm sharing this practice with you, so if you feel that way, hopefully you can find a little bit of refuge as well. For this practice, you might like to have 2 blocks and a blanket. We are going to begin laying down on our backs with the option of having our legs in a diamond shape or butterfly shape. And you might like to have your folded up blanket at the back of your mat for support for your head and neck. The blocks could be used as support for underneath the knees, if that's uncomfortable, to have them just kind of floating in space. You're welcome to have your arms just out by your sides, or you might like to have one hand on your belly, one hand on your heart. Allowing the gaze to soften or the eyelids to close. Noticing the sounds. Maybe you notice sounds in your home. You might be hearing the birds chirping and singing in my neighborhood. And bringing your awareness even closer, feeling the texture of your clothes on your skin. Feeling where your body makes contact with the floor. Feeling the rise and the fall of your chest and belly with each breath in and each breath out. Allowing the breath to become a little bit more rhythmic, smooth and steady. And then we'll just take a couple of moments to scan the body from head to toe, looking for areas where we could release, where we could let go of stress or tension just a little bit more. Might be in your jaw, in your neck or shoulders. Maybe in your belly or your hips. I'll take a deep breath in together and then sigh it out through the mouth. Now let's move into our next shape, supported bridge. Take our hands just down to our thighs to help bring the knees together. Hugging the legs in, just giving them a squeeze, gently rocking side to side, massaging the lower back. And then just bringing the soles of the feet down onto the earth, reaching for your block or blocks. Walking the feet in really close to the bum, lifting the hips up, and then choosing the appropriate height of the block. We'll place the block right underneath the very base of the spine. There's a flat triangular bone there called the sacrum. We're careful not to put the block right in that lower curve of the lumbar spine. We want it a little bit lower. And then once you feel like the blocks are in a position where your pelvis feels stable, you could stay here with your knees bent, or you could start to walk your legs out a little bit further. And this will increase the sensation through the lower back and create more of an opening through the fronts of the thighs, and the abdomen. As we settle into these shapes, taking notice of where your mind is. Observing your patterns of thought without judgment or creating stories. If your legs are extended out long, slowly walk the feet back in towards your bum. Inhaling to lift the pelvis. Slowly, gently removing the blocks off to the side. And almost like you're moving through molasses, the pelvis lowers down onto the earth. And the lower back can feel so vulnerable and fragile after that. So you might want to just stay in stillness. Or you could be someone where you want to move right away. So you draw your knees in, hugging the legs, and then rocking side to side. Rolling over onto one side and using that top hand to help press you up. We're going to come into a forward fold and a hip opener. So you might like to take your folded blanket, just place that underneath your hips. And I'll give you the option. We're going to come into shoelace. So the first option is where we come into half shoelace, where you extend the left leg out in front of you, bending your right knee, and then just placing that right foot somewhere on the outside of the left leg. And you could stay right here, more upright. You might not come very far forward at all. You could have support underneath the left knee. Or full shoelace is where you bend your bottom leg and that left foot comes in towards your right hip. And it's okay if you've got your leg up. The knees don't have to be directly stacked. Depending on your anatomy, will all look a little different. As long as you're feeling this somewhere through the outer part of the right leg and hips, you got it. If you do decide to come forward, you could be playful with this. So your torso could come directly over the knees. You might come more towards the right or left. You might even bring a side bend into it, where you bring your blocks into the outside of your left hip, leaning your left arm and reaching up and over. So make this practice suit you. if you're folded forward, just bring a little bit of weight into your hands to help you roll up through the spine. You could use your hands to help the legs unravel, bringing the feet about that distance apart and then leaning back on the hands and just letting the knees fall side to side. And we'll move into either half shoelace or full shoelace on the other side. Half, we extend the right leg, bend the left knee, left leg. Left sole of the foot comes to the outside of the right leg. Or full, bending the bottom right leg, right sole of the foot coming in towards the left hip. Remembering that you don't have to look the same, you probably won't on either side, but if you want to take that side bend here, or you come more towards the left, exploring how it feels to live in your body right now. Oh, let's release from wherever you're at, coming back up to a tall spine. Unraveling the legs, leaning back. Oh, and just letting the knees fall side to side. We're going to move into another forward fold. This time we'll come into caterpillar, where we're targeting the backs of both legs at once. Such a great shape to take to target the entire back line of the body. So you could choose to have your legs close together, maybe they're a little bit wider apart. Choosing any supports for underneath the knees. And starting to hinge forward at the hips. Noticing that if you tilt the pelvis forward quite a bit, you're going to feel more sensation through the backs of the legs. If the pelvis is tilting back a little bit more, then you'll feel this a lot more through the lower back and through the spine. So just little movements of the pelvis can change what you're feeling in the targeted areas of the body. And if it's uncomfortable to have your head hanging, chin in towards your chest, you could stack your blocks and rest your forehead on those. So if you're a little bit newer to yin, we hang out in these shapes for 3 to 5 or more minutes so we can get into the connective tissue and fascia of the body, hydrating the joints, ultimately allowing prana or chi to move more easily through the meridians of the body, which are thought to be a part of the fascial networks. Relaxing your face, relaxing your shoulders, releasing any grip that you might have with your hands. over the next few breaths, releasing from this shape. We're going to move right away onto our backs, just coming into a rebound. You might like to move your blanket just off to the side on your way down, just allowing the body to splay out and land wherever it may. Allowing the entire body to feel heavy, letting the earth take on the weight of your body. Any stress that you're holding on to, just letting it melt away, melt down into the earth. Bending your knees and bringing the soles of the feet in, just so we can roll over onto one side again, and making our way back up. The next shape or shapes are going to target the inner thighs. I'd like to give you two options. The first option is a little bit easier on the knees. So if you have any sensitive knees or knee issues, you might like this one. It's a seated butterfly, where we take the folded blanket underneath the hips, and you bring the soles of the feet together in front of you, choosing if they're close in or further away, and then choosing to come forward. And you could have the blocks underneath your knees as well. The other option is frog. You could take your blanket, coming to the long edge of your mat, just spreading the blanket out so you have some extra support for the knees. You could have your blocks just out in front in case you want to use them. And we'll take our knees out wide, having your toes pointing out or pointing in. And you could stay more upright on your hands or fists, or even up on your blocks. And you'll notice that as you shift your hips back just even a little bit, that'll increase the sensation through the inner thighs. Or you could start to come down onto your forearms. You might even come all the way down onto your torso. And your head could rest on the earth or on blocks. Whether you are in seated butterfly or in frog, we're all going to eventually make our way down onto our backs. So I'll give you lots of time to get there, making any counter movements that feel right in the body to release. Moving so slow, maybe even slower than you want to. As you eventually make your way down onto your back, allowing there again to be a heaviness to the body, allowing the earth to hold you up so you don't have to hold on. The next shape that we'll be moving into is cat pulling its tail. Bending your knees, the soles of the feet by the bum, just rolling over onto your left side. And then coming up onto your left elbow. You might like to have your blocks or blankets close by in front of you. We'll bend our bottom left leg, extend the right leg out in front. And at this point, you could take your right hand and reach back for that bottom left foot. If it's not accessible, that's okay. You could just bend the leg and reach towards it. That front leg, you could always bend the knee and have blocks underneath to support it if it's uncomfortable just hanging in space. And the other option is, if you have the room, then you could start to slide the left arm out. So you come down onto your shoulder And you open up the chest so the right arm is now reaching towards the right. Or you could have that grip with the foot as well. Sometimes I feel like it's just too much effort to hold on to my foot. But even with that bottom leg bent, I'm still getting sensation through the left quads and hip flexors. Releasing the grip on the foot if you have that grip still. And then just allowing yourself to roll back onto your back. Extending the legs out long. When you feel ready, we'll move into cat pulling its tail on the other side. Bending your knees and just rolling over onto your right side. Coming up onto the right elbow. And then reaching for your blocks or props if you want to use them on this side. We'll bend our bottom right leg Extend the left leg out in front of you, taking your left hand and reaching for the bottom foot if that's accessible. Taking notice of how that extended leg feels, remembering that you could have support underneath it if it needs. And this might be where you stay, or extending the right arm out, opening up through the chest, the left shoulder moving down towards the earth. I've always felt a little bit awkward in cat pulling its tail. It can feel so good, but awkward because there's so much going on. So if you feel like that, just know that you're normal. As long as there's no pain, then it's all good. If anything, if you feel awkward in a shape, it's a nice exercise to observe your patterns of thought when you are in an awkward situation. Do you get irritated or angry? Releasing the grip of the foot if you have that. Making your way back onto your belly. We'll bring the knees in towards your chest. And you could stay here hugging the knees in. Or you could bring the knees a little bit wider, coming in towards your armpits, reaching for the soles of the feet. Just coming into a happy baby, rocking side to side. You could kick out one leg, one foot, and then the other. Bringing the knees in close, extending the feet up towards the sky, just pointing and flexing the feet, rolling out through the ankles in one direction and then in the other. You can roll out through your hands, your wrists as well while you're here. And then we'll move into either our final corpse, just allowing yourself to lay out onto the earth again. You might be more comfortable laying on your side or on your belly. Or you might like to come up and spend the last few moments in a comfortable seat. Whatever shape you've decided to take with the body in these final moments of our practice, allow the body to relax a little bit more. Are there thoughts or thought patterns that you've just been holding and gripping so hard that maybe you could even relax the mind a little bit more? start to bring some awareness back into the body, allowing the inhales to become a little bit longer, a little bit deeper. Same with the exhales. And if you're laying on your back, you might like to make your way up to a seat. We'll bring our hands together at our heart, humbling the chin. When the weight of the world feels like it's just too much, remember that you can always come back to your breath. You can always come back to this stillness and quiet that always resides deep within you. From my heart to yours, namaste.